You have probably seen APR and APY on a crypto platform and thought they look similar, right? So they must mean the same, but they don't. They are not the same, even though they might or they may sound the same. You know, when it comes to APY and APR, understanding the difference can completely change how you evaluate your crypto returns. So in this video, let's break this down properly, all right? Not just definition, but how this actually works in real life or real world, especially in crypto. Let's start with APR. APR stands for annual percentage rate. It is the simple yearly interest rate you earn or pay on loan or lending, all right? So the key word here is simple interest. And APR does not include compounded. So if you invest $1,000 at 10% APR, after 1 year, you earn $100 as profit. That is it. It is a straight line growth, all right? There's no interest on top of your interest. Now in crypto, you usually see APR on centralized exchanges like Binance, Bybit, or other custodian services. You also see it in crypto loans or fixed staking products. So now the question is, why do we often see APR or APR as a base rate on exchanges rather than decentralized exchanges, all right? Exchanges prefer APR because it is predictable, it is easy to communicate, and often even if rewards are paid yearly, they don't automatically reinvest unless you manually compound them yourself. So basically the platform shows you the base rate and the simple yearly return. That is simply APR, simple interest and nothing more. Now let's move to APY. APY stands for annual percentage yield. And this is where things get a bit interesting or even more interesting, right? APY includes compounding. That means you earn interest and then you earn interest on top of your interest, all right? So basically interest on the interest you just earn. You earn interest on your principal and then you earn interest on the interest you've earned, all right? So let's use the same example. If you invest $1,000 at 10% APY and it compounds yearly, your final amount at the end of the year won't just be $1,100. It might be $1,105 or even a little more, right? It depends on how frequently it compounds. At first glance, that difference might feel or look small, right? But guess what? Over multiple years or even with a larger capital, compounding becomes powerful. I learned compounding even in the traditional financial world or financial system is the eighth wonder of the world or something, because it really works wonders. Now here's something interesting you need to note, all right? You see APY not on centralized platforms, unlike APR, right? You see them on decentralized platforms, DeFi protocols, yield farming pools, liquidity pools, and auto-compounding vaults, all right? Now you may ask why. Because many DeFi systems automatically reinvest your rewards. Basically, your tokens generate the yield, that yield is added back to your balance, and now your new balance earns more yield. And that is compounding in action. So I personally love DeFi, all right? DeFi platform prefer to show APY because it reflects the compounding outcome. Yeah, simple as that. But also here's where people make mistakes, okay? People think the higher APY means better returns. Liquidity pools have risks like impermanent losses and reward rates can sometimes change yearly, all right? Centralized exchanges usually show APR because it feels more stable and basically straightforward, right? DeFi platforms show APY because they rely on automatic compounding system. So it's basically a system problem. But if you ask me, I would say neither is automatically better. It depends on structure. Let's say platform A offers 8% APR on USDT through a centralized exchange, right? And platform B offers 12% APY in a decentralized liquidity pool. Most beginners look at 12% and think that is obviously better, right? But experienced investors ask even more better questions. Probe it further, right? Is that 12% fixed or variable? Is the token stable? Is there price risk involved? Or is there any impermanent losses? Even some move ahead to ask, is it auto compounding, all right? Sometimes a stable 8% APR is actually safer and more predictable than a volatile 12% APY. This is exactly why understanding structure matters more than just chasing the numbers and the APYs and the APRs, right? You have to understand the structure, okay? So how should you think about this? First, check whether the rewards auto compound. I'm talking about decentralized platform. First, check whether the rewards auto compound. Second, check how often they compound, whether daily, weekly, and manually. And third, understand whether the yield is fixed or variable. And finally, you have to evaluate the risk. And I think you shouldn't only tick this checklist on decentralized when you want to get to decentralized platform or you want to use the APY. If you also want to do APR or get into the centralized platform, you also need to check the same list, right? For both, all right? Like I said, you need to check whether the rewards auto compound. You have to check how often they compound yearly, weekly, or manually. Third, understand whether the yield is fixed or variable. And finally, evaluate your risk. All right. APR is simple interest and APY is compound interest. Just understand these two differences. All right. So in short, APR is simple interest and APY is compound interest. All right. Just choose what fits your investment style. But you need to understand this thing. All right. Understand that real profit is interest minus risk minus volatility. And that's the part most people forget. Now let's bring this into our context, all right, as an African. In many African countries, savings accounts offer very, very low yields. Inflation is high, currency depreciation is real. So crypto earning products becomes more attractive. But that doesn't mean you should jump into the highest APY. No, it doesn't mean like that, all right? You need to understand whether you are earning APR on a centralized platform or APY in a DeFi protocol. And also if you are comfortable managing your own wallet. Or on the other hand, you prefer a centralized custody. You know, different tools comes with different risk and different level of responsibility. So always do your own research. So let's simplify everything, all right? APR is simply yearly interest, no compounding included. And they are very common on centralized exchanges. And APY includes compounding, interest on interest, and it's very common on DeFi. Smartest investors don't chase the biggest number on the screen. They understand what's behind the number. That is how you survive long in crypto. And if you want even much more deeper understanding about APR and APY and centralized and decentralized protocols, and even practical walkthroughs on how to calculate real returns and how to use DeFi safely, how to manage your risk properly, please make sure you join our community. That is where we break this down step by step and answer real questions. And if you are new here, please don't forget to follow this channel or subscribe. And also don't forget to join my community. There's so much to learn and I'm willing to teach all of them. All right. See you in the next video. Bye.